In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how I built my first 100K investment portfolio and how you can too, as I'm going to break down the steps that I took and what my income levels were on this journey. Welcome to my investing series where I help you shift your mindset, understands the lessons and milestones I went through on my investing journey, and how you can start building wealth for yourself and the next generation. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, my name is Sashika Ma'at. I'm a financial coach and the founder of Jama Wealth Financial. I help you keep more cash in your pocket so you can position it to wealth and create a life of freedom and ease. So, as I walk through my investing journey, I want you to take a look at where you are right now, whether your income level or whether you have debt. And as you are going through the series with me, I want you to take notes as to how you can start investing and creating a plan to building your first six-figure investment portfolio. All right, let's get into it. So, as I've shared with you, I started investing through my employer's 401k account. This was back in my early 20s. I was investing because the HR representative told me during new hire orientation that investing $25 a paycheck would set me up for retirement. So that's what I did. But it wasn't until 2018 when I made that shift from being in this constant cycle of debt to building up my first six-figure investment portfolio. Now, during that time, my income levels did shift. When I first started in corporate, I was making about $16 an hour. I was putting aside $25 per paycheck. And I did this off and on during the 2 years that I was working. By the time I left to move to another company, I had accumulated about $2,000 over that 2 year time frame. Now, one of the mistakes that I did make with that process was when I left the organization, I didn't know what to do with old investment accounts and how you can either roll it over to your new employer's account or cash it out. I received a letter after leaving my job, and I was presented with the options of cashing out the money or rolling it over into my new employer account. And because I didn't understand 401ks and setting up accounts at my new job, I decided to take the option of cashing out that account. If you know anything about investing, the most important thing is to keep your money in there to build over time. That was another mistake I made on this journey of not truly understanding investing and just taking the cash in that moment. When I moved to my next employer, I was making about $50,000 a year. I was only putting aside $25 per paycheck. Here I was making 30 some thousand a year, now making 50,000 a year, and I was still investing the same amount. So the good thing I like to focus on is that yes, I was investing and I was doing it consistently. I was putting aside money. But what I did not understand was that as I was increasing my income, it would have been beneficial for me to increase my investments as well. At this time, I'm 27 years old, making decent money. And over that 5 year span, I was able to increase my income from 50,000 to well over six figures. During that phase, I was still only putting about $25 a paycheck. I think maybe I increased to $50 at some point to put $100, but then quickly reduced it back down because again, I was not really clear on what I was working towards. I was just focused on the fact that if I put $25 away, it would build up my investments. My journey didn't begin until 2018. Even though my income was increasing, I was still in this debt cycle where I was making money, but not managing my spending, save or build. I was constantly working to just pay debt. It wasn't until 2018 where I had this aha moment. Something has to be different, right? I just come back from a trip to South Africa and it was like, here I am making another debt payoff plan. It was my enough is enough moment because I was at the point where it's like, I don't want to keep going through this process of racking up debt to then just creating a plan and then paying it off. Right. And that was the moment where I shifted to let's figure out how we can build wealth. When I started researching more on what does it take to build wealth, I came across net worth tracking. Was learning about what it is to track your net worth and why this is an important factor to help you on this journey of building wealth. Your net worth is a true measurement as to what's happening with your overall financial picture. It is giving assessments of your total assets. Remember the things that you own that are of value minus your total liabilities, the things you owe, things like your credit cards, your student loan payments, your car payments, things that you have to pay back. And when you take your assets minus your liability, that gives you your net worth calculation. At the time that I calculated my net worth in 2018, my net worth was negative $266,000. My goal is to work towards building up $1 million net worth. I don't know why $1 million was that number. It just seems like a far enough number. It's that saying, if your goals aren't scary enough, then you're thinking too small. Being at negative 266,000 and wanting to build up a $1 million net worth seems like a scary enough goal for me. So that's my mind to. Can I achieve $1 million net worth? But I did it anyway. And that's what started this journey. So how did I reach that 100K investment portfolio? So just to clarify, I was tracking net worth and I did reach my 100K net worth milestone long before I reached my first 100K investment portfolio value. I want to signify the difference because I know a lot of people focus on reaching their first 100K net worth, but I was focused on my first 100K portfolio simply because I wanted to focus on the value of money in a particular account. And because I still had my home and my student loans, I wanted to be able to see beyond that amount. So in 2018, when I decided to start moving towards this milestone, the challenge was that I had a negative six-figure net worth. I had a lot of debt, my student loans, credit cards, car payment, personal loan, things that were taking up my income. One of the things that I had to do was I didn't want to put off investing simply because I had debt. I have been in this cycle of paying off debt and then racking up more debt again. So I was more focused on how can I build up my investments while paying off debt. I simply focused on starting small. I was putting aside $25 a paycheck, but I then switched to a percentage amount. I started putting 1% of my paycheck towards my investments every single month. That was mainly my 401k account at the time because I wanted to at least invest so that I can get the employer match. I continued investing that 1%, increasing it every year. As I got a raise, I increased the percentage of my 401k contributions. So my investments were increasing in proportion to my income. I did this over the course of 5 years. And in 2022, I finally reached my first six-figure investment portfolio. This wasn't a straight line incline over time. There were ups and downs within the markets. There's going to be fluctuations over time. You're going to see some rises, you're going to see some falls. But the most important thing as a long term investor is to focus on the end goal. The longer your time horizon, the more time you have for compound interest to work for you. I focused on just a small portion of, okay, if I can just hit 100K, then I came up with the amount I needed to invest each month to make it to that number. I went from making $16 an hour to well over six figures. Even though my investments were increasing, I was stuck putting this small amount because I was not focused on a vision of what I was working towards. But once I made that shift that I wanted to start building wealth, that's when I started seeing that proportional increase with my investments as well as my income. Before, no vision, they're having a vision. And guess what? Within less than 5 years, I was able to reach that six-figure investment milestone. So the key thing that I want you to take away from this video is to make sure that you understand the destination of what you're trying to work towards. And while I had that milestone of numerical value, what does saving up that $1 million or whatever milestone you have do for you? And once you reach that goal, what does it mean for your life? You want to think beyond just the numbers and really get into the feeling because that's going to help you move forward. This road is not easy. There are going to be times you're going to have to focus on consistency because you know what's at the end of that goal line, right? The key thing I got out of this was more confidence in myself to achieve that goal. And it helped me understand that consistent habits and focusing on that vision is key to success. Drop in the comments and let me know, what is your investment goal? What are you working towards? And how long are you trying to take to get towards that goal? Stay tuned for the next video where I'll break down how I was able to pay off six figures of debt while building up that six-figure investment portfolio. Hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell so you can get notified when I post the next episode in this series. And until next time, here's to your financial freedom.